Athens, Georgia is a typical college town where crimes usually involve petty break-ins and rowdy students. But in March 2019, a 911 call reported something unprecedented: a Bitcoin theft worth nearly $600,000. The call came from Jimmy Zhong, a 28-year-old party boy and Bitcoin investor. Though police failed to solve that crime, the call set off a chain of events that revealed Zhong was far more than what he seemed. Zhong was a computer whiz who claimed to have amassed a Bitcoin fortune from mining early on in the digital currency's implementation. He lived large, throwing lavish parties and traveling in private jets. But he had no visible job. His extensive home surveillance system, hacking skills, and Bitcoin riches should have raised questions. However, Zhong was well liked for his generosity, but his desperate desire for friendship eventually attracted questionable company and would become his downfall. James Jimmy Zhong was born in the late 1980s in China to working-class parents. When he was 9 years old, his family immigrated to the United States in search of better economic opportunities. They settled in Georgia, where Jimmy later attended public schools. He showed an early interest and aptitude for math, science, and computers. As a high school student, Jimmy excelled in his computer science classes, finding programming languages to come naturally to him. His computer science teacher took notice of his talent and motivated him to pursue further education in the field. After graduating high school, Jimmy was accepted into the University of Georgia's computer science program. He continued to shine as a gifted student, absorbing complex coding concepts with ease. During his senior year, Jimmy began an internship at a software company, gaining valuable on-the-job experience. He graduated in 2009 with his bachelor's degree in computer science and a job offer from a major tech firm. Over the next few years, Zhong worked as a software engineer and honed his skills. He became fluent in languages like C++, Java, and Python. Jimmy stayed up to date on the latest programming frameworks and methodologies. While he found satisfaction in his job, Jimmy yearned for greater challenges and rewards. That desire led Zhong to take an interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in 2011. The technology behind Bitcoin fascinated him from a coding perspective. He joined online crypto forums under the username Sunset1 to further explore this new frontier and became one of Bitcoin's early developers. Jimmy set up accounts on crypto exchanges like Mt. Gox and dabbled with buying and selling Bitcoin. He became consumed by the idea of acquiring Bitcoin through more creative means. In 2012, Zhong came across the black market website Silk Road,
They're all listed in the light of day. It's unbelievable.
which used Bitcoin to facilitate the sale of illicit goods and services. He recognized the site's lax security measures as an opportunity. Through a technique known as double spending, Jimmy began exploiting Silk Road's payment system to have Bitcoin sent to him multiple times for just a single transaction. He made these manipulations in small increments over time to avoid detection. When the Silk Road founder, Ross Ulbricht, would make a large Bitcoin transfer, Jimmy used his access to siphon off some of the funds into his own crypto wallet. Due to the semi-anonymous nature of Bitcoin transactions, his identity remained obscured. By late 2013, Jimmy had stolen around 50,000 Bitcoins, worth over $100 million from Silk Road, and Ulbricht was none the wiser. Zhong laid low while Silk Road was taken down by the FBI in October 2013. Ulbricht was arrested, but Jimmy escaped suspicion as his thefts were not yet uncovered. With Silk Road shuttered, Jimmy simply held onto his trove of stolen Bitcoin in his virtual wallet. Since Bitcoin was still relatively new and undervalued, Jimmy did not cash out any of the funds. Over the next few years, Jimmy closely followed Bitcoin's meteoric price rise during the crypto boom. The 50,000 coins he had swiped were appreciating by the day, but he resisted the urge to sell. By 2017, his Bitcoin stash was worth hundreds of millions. Through 2018, 2019, and beyond, Jimmy sat on his digital fortune as its value approached $3 billion. His secluded computer-focused lifestyle likely didn't afford him many real-life friends, but his massive riches surely would. Or so he thought.
So who were his friends? Who was he hanging out with?
I remember a female, a couple of males, just about his age that were just not really caring, maybe using Jimmy a little bit, maybe.
They were using him?
I don't know if they really cared about Jimmy.
In 2018, Jimmy organized a trip to Los Angeles with a group of friends to support their favorite Georgia Bulldogs football team at the Rose Bowl. He generously covered all expenses, including tickets to the game, a private jet for the journey, a stay at a high-end Airbnb, and even gave each friend up to $10,000 for a shopping spree in Beverly Hills.
And Jimmy rented a really nice Airbnb, and he got everyone really nice tickets to the game also. He ended up giving everyone a budget, and that was very unexpected, you know, just having a friend giving all his friends that came with him on the trip money to just purchase items on Rodeo Drive. So it was kind of like, am I dreaming, you know? Like, it was a very crazy moment.
A little over a year later, Jimmy would dial 911 to report a Bitcoin theft of $600,000. When the Athens-Clarke County Police Department was unable to solve his case, he hired private investigator Robin Martinelli. Through Jimmy's own extensive surveillance footage, he identified a suspect. Shockingly, one of his own friends. Jimmy refused to accept this, wanting to believe the best of people. Finally, in May of 2021, federal investigators caught up to Jimmy Zhong through a painstaking crypto forensic analysis. His 9-year-old Silk Road theft scheme had finally come to light. He had made a tiny error, allowing tracing to an account in his name. IRS agents approached Zhong in a coordinated effort with local police under the guise of helping solve his reported Bitcoin theft from 2 years prior. Zhong enthusiastically welcomed them in and showed off his Bitcoin wallet, confirming he possessed millions in crypto. The authorities returned in November with a full raid team, seizing physical Bitcoin, cash, a hidden computer, and a wallet matching the Silk Road hack. Zhong's role as both Bitcoin enthusiast and criminal perfectly reflected the culture that birthed cryptocurrencies. Brilliant but eccentric misfits pushing legal boundaries. The Silk Road Bitcoin legally belonged to the U.S. government after the site's closure, but Zhong's theft had caused it to appreciate greatly. Despite never directly harming the government, Zhong was charged and pleaded guilty to wire fraud. The stolen crypto was seized and sold by the U.S., and Zhong was sentenced to 1 year in prison, a relatively light punishment.
Jimmy, how do you feel after this today? Why'd you steal the money, Jimmy? Did you think you were going to get away with it? Anything else to say, Jimmy?
His attorneys argued his actions had hugely benefited the government by letting the Bitcoin grow in value while he held it. At the time of Silk Road's shutdown, the collective stolen Bitcoin would have a value of roughly $14 million. By the time the IRS seized it from Jimmy, it had grown to a massive $3 billion profit for the U.S. government. Jimmy Zhong's story illustrates just how disruptive Bitcoin and blockchain technology can be to the status quo. A decentralized digital currency was hijacked and used for illicit gain through cunning technical exploits. In a strange twist, Jimmy was ultimately rewarded for his patience and belief in Bitcoin's future potential. The once brilliant coder will be remembered not for any tech innovations, but for pulling off one of the most brazen cybercrimes ever. His crime required no weapons or violence, only bits of code craftily manipulated. Jimmy stumbled upon a loophole that allowed him to game the early crypto system. His legacy will now be intrinsically linked to this volatile new asset class for decades to come. The saga of this eccentric figure shows Bitcoin remains rife with risks and unintended consequences over a decade since its birth. As crypto evolves, more complex puzzles undoubtedly await. But so long as there are thieves in the shadows, those seeking justice will be close behind.